Castles might be met by castles. Okay, we have a trade. Three could be weak long term, but it's far from the king, so it's not a big priority. Unless it goes knight e4. However, e6 could potentially be weak after it takes. Even now, you can take and then drop the bishop on g4. Just add more pressure to these white squares. Could be annoying to deal with. Both players have around the same amount of time, which is good. I think burpcow lost a few games to time pressure. So putting more pressure on the white square. So in general, in these types of positions, bishops are going to be easier to work with than knights because they control so many squares. So bishop trade, and he's probably going to go bishop at g4. Actually, maybe queen at h5 was a blunder because he dropped a lone queen. I don't know. Please don't disconnect. Okay, I'm sure he went bishop at g4 and just disconnected, so I'll have to wait a bit. Sorry about that. He went bishop at e8. So what was wrong with bishop at g4? Okay, no nothing. Can look at that too. So he goes g5. Ambitious. Not really ambitious because it's a pawn 4. Knight f5. Instead of taking the knight on f4, luckily this has no prospects in front of me, so it looks like I can take this knight. It's more of a position decision. Okay, there's the trade. I see black actually snapped off the knight on g4, and white puts out this thematic bishop h3 defensive move. But now black can take on d4. Getting a tempo on the queen and getting into these white squares. Queen e3. Now we can see these squares are, so how can I defend that? At the same time, I can drop a bishop on f4. That might be his next move. Although even if he gets a queen, it will be really hard to break into this king-size structure, thanks to this bishop. So I could play knight at c5 here, and just say I want to trade queens. I mean, trading queens isn't the worst, you can still take, but the idea with knight c5 is now if I take on d4, I can win e6 check, or maybe I can take with the knight. And really, with only pawns in hand, it's really hard for black to get into this position. So with this queen, this would have probably done something similar. Now he sacks a queen on d4, and he's going to win e6. So now how does black get into this position, right? That's the question. And the answer to that question might be that, okay, first you have to open H1. Might be black try to get along the back rank because he has more heavy pieces like rooks and queens. So he goes bishop e5, and then the next move is he might go like queen takes a1. And just trade the queen off for 2 rooks. Okay, JannLee opts to win the bishop back, or trade the queen for bishop and the knight, which is an even trade, which is good for him. White probably missed something here. Might miss pawn g7. No, after this move, black will start to try to consolidate, and then we'll so time scramble. So going to be interesting to see, but it's anyone's game at this point. That's a big blunder. Oh, that's also a big blunder. Okay, now JannLee will drop something bishop on g7 and try to consolidate. Or f6 actually. Now burpcow has more heavy pieces. He has more rooks and queens, so he's going to try to get in along the back rank. So we're going to see some heavy stacking along the 8th rank. Now he can't go knight f6 because the queen will win the bishop, but he might have to do it anyways. He takes on h3, white takes here. Okay, so rook takes, knight takes, no knight, rook at g1 is a knight threat. So he has to use his bishop to cover f2, which gives black enough time to defend. So now black is going to win this game. Well played, time scramble for JannLee. Two. Oh, he has 8 pawns in hand. That's a lot of pawns. Rook here, pawn here. Oh, that's just me. Hello, PKR. Yes, I did not expect him to win that game either. Hopefully that happens to me too. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna hope that. Okay, this is the last game of this match. JannLee is up 8-1. Although the result does not reflect the closeness of some of these games. I've seen exceptional display from JannLee and decent showing from burpcow. They're repeating the exact same line. So last time JannLee played, the first time we saw this, he played e6. Then he played bishop c4. I hope he could play knight at c5. Let's see what he would do. Okay, knight at g5 is the same thing. Essentially, white's saying, I'm going to take this pawn and you can't do anything about it. But what can he do with it, though? Can target this pawn to counter that threat and defend it with his queen. That's why I wanted knight at c5. So now white would have c4 in that case. And now black would have queen a5 if white plays c4. Well, there's no rush. Yeah, can just go here, castle. This knight is going to cover some more squares, which makes it a good defensive piece as well. It could also relocate to f4. It's a possibility. Castles, knight takes, king takes, pawn at f3 check. So black sacked the knight for play. If white takes here twice, black will knight at h4 check. So white takes this way, so not give black the knight. But however, I think this could allow queen takes f3. Okay, he doesn't play. Plays this, which is similar. The idea is I can take this and then I'll get a knight at h4. And win back the pawn. I'm not really sure why he allowed it, except that this, then there's something like g2, which is why he wants to take d4 first. It's like an intermediate move. This is also a strong intermediate move covering g2 and threatening pawn at d7. Something that you get more and more used to in Crazy House is that if the pawns on g2 is missing, then your king's actually safe. Pawn at b4, covering this impulse to this one with diagonal. But what he failed to take into account is now black doesn't have a pawn to drop on g2 anymore. Uh-oh. So he quickly tries to grab a pawn on e5, but the damage has already been done. Now white can drop a pawn on g2, and the king will be safe forever. And this diagonal will be open. White doesn't intermediate move d7 check first, which I don't think is super important. But... JannLee says, I'm going to end this game immediately. And there's a checkmate threat of knight c2, knight b7, which he has to defend against, and his queen's also attacked, so this is the only logical score for the queen, aside from this one. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even, well, he has to, he probably goes here. If we do a material count, we see white's up a knight for nothing. So, if you remember the game, I think game 4, game 5, game 3. If you remember game 3 when white was up a piece for nothing, that was like close to losing. e6 trying to cut off this bishop, but it's really hard for black to play. White uses the extra piece to get even more concessions like this knight. No, white's just safe forever. 3 extra knights for all 4 knights. In hand, 4 on the board, or GM BMW. Yep, and this is game. Good games. Thanks for watching the match. I'll now go over some interesting games from the analysis. See also this one. This one is a good example of how JannLee plays. It's very strategic. Or it's also a good example of how to play these d4, d5 positions. So you see white goes for one of these flank attacks. Or not really a flank, but on the right flank. Just tries to win material in general. What does black do? Black builds pieces on the king side. And now by this point, London gives black an advantage, despite white having the rook, which was an even trade for the bishop. Black has 6 pieces, three layers of protection around this king. And with that, black's now free to sack any material they like, and white's just gonna lose from having worse king coverage. Let me check the chat to see what else was assumed. Oh, that. Okay, so this game, I think someone wanted to look at. Oh, yeah. So this is a game where he sort of hung his piece, and we see the computer gives +8. Why? Because white has 2 extra pieces. You lose a piece, it actually counts as double, because now your opponent has that piece you lost. You're down, the opponent's down a piece, you're up a piece, or the other way around. And he's playing well. I think he's playing well. Wow. That's a blunder. No, I guess he gets like this stuff going on b2. Anyways, this all makes sense. Alright, so h7 is a mistake. So that was a mistake, apparently. Yeah, I don't think the stream delay changes, by the way, so it'll just be me analyzing. Let's see what the engine thinks about rook at f8. Doesn't work. So I had to go rook at 8 because black has to spend the piece for defense. And now queen takes g4. What if black spends a bishop? Well, now white will get this bishop for h7 or wherever. So it's like a die. So black has to block with a knight. Why can't black block with this knight? Well, that means that. So black wants to be able to recapture on d8 with a knight, because if black recaptures with this knight, then white will get this square, and this queen covers it, and it will fork the queen and the king. So he has to go there, and then queen takes g4. Now if f takes, then white wins back the queen. And we see that since this was traded off and black has no knights, then white's king is safe. So the point of this move was to get black's knight out of their hand. Yeah. But even before that, honestly. Yeah, g6 was fine. Pawn h7 was a mistake. Oh, white had an option to go bishop at c4. And then just to win the queen, right? Because if black tries to block with something on d5, like if they block with a bishop, they can drop the bishop on c4 again. Or if the queen gets low to d5, I can go knight at e7 and win it this way. So this would have been a faster play. Okay. And this is nice because white goes here, then black has like knight at e2, and there's smother queen. Okay, this game. What does the engine suggest here, by the way? So it's around evil, huh? Okay. Went for this ambitious thing, which is actually good. Knight e4 was a blunder. Yeah. So now someone was suggesting, what if bishop f7 here? Okay. Bishop f5 is strong because it cracks the rook and also covers against knight f6 too. And then at the very end, what if white goes king h1 here? Well, there's knight at g3. Can't take this way because the queen goes to h2, so let's take this way. And then we have our classic smothered mate trick. And then finally, the very last game. So this is very good for black despite being down at 1. And consider bishop takes e4 immediately. Wonder what depth this was going on. Okay, so knight takes g2, takes h4. This is really strong. In retrospect, maybe. Yeah, something covering h3 would have been okay. In terms of this bishop at d7 to cover h3. And bishop at f1 to cover as well. But by here, black's winning. And now supposedly knight takes g3 was the move. 1 to 2. And then here, what's the idea? Oh, you can go bishop you can do a bishop. And then when they block, you go bishop takes f3. And then you can go rook at f4. That's the key move. And now you have a pawn to drop on h3. And the queen, since it's covering here, and the pawn's covering here, taking us to the back rank, and now you get to promote with check, and you can drop the queen on e2 next move. It's a nice idea. They can follow the computer line where white takes, but this is pretty obviously losing. The key thing is after king e2, you want to somehow force the king to the back rank, so you can give another check. But yeah, that was the match, and thank you everyone again for watching. See you next time. You can also check out the calendar by typing !calendar, or learn more about the CWC by typing !CWC. Okay, goodbye.